Hello and welcome to this video, which is designed to help teachers of economics get the best from Exampro. Over the next 10 minutes or so, I'll be showing you some of the important aspects of Exampro that you might have missed. When you first log into Exampro, you come to what we call the gatekeeper. It's a list of all the subjects. It sometimes can get a bit chock-a-block, so it's useful sometimes to click on the left-hand side, straight to economics, and then you go and drill down exactly to the subject that you want. Now, when I first go in, most people know that Exampro consists of past paper questions that have been tagged by subject experts to the new specifications. It's useful to know where the questions came from. So if you click on search and go to series, then you can see all the papers and the years that all the paper questions came from. And we've got two sets of specimen papers for the AS and two sets for the A2 in there as well. If you want to know where an individual question came from, the best part of call is the Question IDs. So I click this Question IDs button down the bottom of the question list and this code appears. The QSPS.A1.02 sounds a bit like gibberish to you at first, and then you can start to work it out. So that's a specimen paper question from set A of the specimen papers, paper 1, question 02, for example. If I go further down the list, I'm going back in time, and then I can go to, for example, paper from 2016, paper 203, question 03. So you can see where the questions come from. Now, most people know that you can search for questions in Exampro, but they don't necessarily know that the searches are what we call additive. You can put them together. So, for example, I can look for a question on the labour market, and I might want to put together a little test on the labour market. So I want to start off with some multiple choice questions. So I've now clicked on multiple choice, and I've got labour market questions on which are multiple choice. So I can choose my questions there. I'm going to have that one, I'm going to have that one, and I'm going to have that one. And then I'm going to put an analysis question in there, and I'm going to end with a nice chunky essay question. So I can put together very quickly different types of questions. I can then click on this, and I can go back to my specification and choose a different part, and I've now got essay questions on a different part, for example. So you can change individual parts of this search as you want, or reset the whole thing. I can then output that document to PDF, which gives you a really nice printed version. It's paginated well. Word is better for if you want to edit it, so if you want to take out the answer lines, or if you want to change the question in some way or other. For example, you could change the numbers, or you could change the application of the question. That's possible too. I could save the document so I can use it later. So this was labour questions. Save that to my online library. Now when I do that, this little web link turns up. When I click that, I go through to a web page which has got the URL with the 8 slightly random letters and then .exampro.net. When I look at these questions, you can see that I've got the questions there. It's not online answerable, but you can ask your students to access these on a smartphone or on their computers, and then they can answer the questions when they're away from school. You can also release the mark schemes. So if I save the changes and then reopen that, then I've now got the mark scheme, so I can get my students to mark their own work. And that's really useful for setting homeworks, but also for revision exercises. You set the search and close that. Now, it's useful to know about the extract. So if we go to the case studies, for example, these there's a set of questions that were on an extract that was about free school meals. We've got the extracts in two different places. First of all, we have individual extracts that we've separated out in the question bank as questions themselves. So for example, if I look in this question here on externalities, then that's on extract B. So I obviously want just extract B in my test with that question. And then I could, for example, choose another case study and choose a question on that, and then I need extract D for that particular question. So then you don't have extraneous extracts. However, if you want the full load of extracts that came with a particular question, then go to this resource tab and you get a PDF of all the extracts as they were shown in the exam, and you can download that to your computer as you wish from there. So we've got the extracts in those two different formats, so you can use them. I reset my searches. One of the things that teachers ask us is how they can tell if they've used questions before. And in a future version of Exampro, we're hoping to be able to tag questions, so you can tag to show that you've seen them before. What is a workaround at the moment is to use two documents. So if I, for example, was to go to, I'm teaching the first topic in AS economics, 1.1 economic methodology. There's 22 questions on that. So if I tick on the top question, or click on the top question, and then go right down to the bottom, press on the Shift key on my keypad, and then the bottom question, I highlight all my questions. I then get this little plus sign that's appeared at the bottom right hand side, and if I click that, I get all of those 22 questions down into my document. Now the nice thing about that, you can do that for up to 60 questions. I've got all those questions in there. I can now open a second document, and this can be my topic test. So I'm going to go through these questions and decide which questions are in my topic test and segregate them, and leaving behind those questions I'm happy to use in class. So these ones, this was economic methodology, and this is for class. And then this one is my test. Then I'm quite happy to use any of these questions at any point in my teaching, whether it's formally in homework or just to give to the students. And I know that I've segregated all those questions for my test. A nice thing as well is I could give them that URL, and then they've got all of those questions that are revision questions, but they're not in my test, so that I'm quite happy to give them that alongside the mark schemes, maybe at the end of the unit. Now, one thing about these links, please don't share them online. Feel free to put them on your URL, give them in worksheets and all the rest of it. But if you put them online, then other teachers other students will see them, and will start to share questions that other teachers want to use, and keep safe. And please never ever share the login to Exampro with your students, because what they do is they stick it on the student room, and then thousands of students will try to use your account and you won't be able to use it, plus all the questions will have been shared by then. So the final thing I'm going to show you is about how to use examiners reports most effectively within Exampro. Imagine I'm teaching I don't know, competitive and concentrated markets for the first time. So I'm not really sure about this topic. If I go back to any questions that were in live papers that are longer answer questions, and I start to get examiners reports in there. Examiners reports are really useful in this case because I can go through and I can start to look at where students made mistakes, what the misconceptions were. So the sort of things that you need to be looking out for in your teaching when you're teaching this topic. It takes seconds to go through these questions when you're going and examiners reports just when you're starting to prepare for a particular topic, but it's going to be a really useful exercise for doing that. So I think that's a much more efficient way of using the examiners reports than trying to read the long reports at the end of the exam, because they're long, they're dry, and they tend to you're not teaching half of the topics until 2 years later, so it may not be important for you right then. So I hope this has been a useful little video. We'd love to hear your feedback, and good luck in using Exampro.